The Bilderberg meetings are a fascinating topic because they've been going on every year since 1954, and they consist of the most powerful, richest, most influential people in the world, and they're never reported on in the media. It's incredible. For example, past guests include people like Henry Kissinger, George Osborne, the British Chancellor, the Queen of the Netherlands, heads of international banks and business. It's incredible meetings, and the national media in countries around Europe and the world don't report on them. In Britain, there's like a complete media blackout. It's unbelievable. But with the internet, I'm afraid that these things now can't be kept secret anymore. And we know that, for example, Kenneth Clarke, who's a British minister in the government, he's been in the government, conservative governments in the past, attends these meetings, and he's on the steering committee. And in fact, I wrote to him and asked him on what basis they go to these meetings and what they discuss. And of course, he wrote me a very polite reply back, but didn't really tell me very much. But there's another one being held now, which is in the UK, and that will be from the 6th to the 9th of June. It's in the Grove Hotel in Watford. And again, there's no plans that I know of in the media to actually talk about what goes on. So I've written to all the main TV stations, the main newspapers, and asked them if they intend to report on it, and if not, why not? Because can you imagine? I mean, I find this impossible to believe. In the UK, if two celebrities meet for a chat, it's front page news. It's all over the newspapers. But when some of the most powerful people in the world meet, and there's up to 120 people go to these meetings, nothing's said in the press. It's incredible. So it's not surprising that these incredible conspiracy theories arise, which I don't believe. I do believe there's something going on. They have an agenda, they discuss something, they must decide something. So let's know what it is. I mean, these people are on the public payroll, lots of them. They're private businesses or they're politicians. They're paid for by taxpayers or by shareholders. Let's know what they're talking about. Well, you see, this is the whole point. I mean, up until very recently, they didn't even admit that they existed. In the internet age, and they've been filmed going into these meetings now, so it's become impossible to hide it. So they've actually got their own website now, but it doesn't actually tell you very much. And of course, since these are the most powerful people in the world, then you've got to ask yourself why they would give up 3 or 4 days of their time to talk if it wasn't important. Now, the letter I got back from Kenneth Clarke said merely, oh, well, don't worry about it. We all just, have a nice, friendly discussion about the future of the world and what should be happening. Well, that may well be true. It all may be entirely innocent. But I find it very difficult to believe that these people are going to spend this amount of time and effort to discuss things unless they're implemented. Now, if they decide things which are implemented, then I think the people have a right to know in a democracy what these policies are. And you do have to wonder, because you see things like the European Union, like globalisation in terms of business or whatever, mass immigration, things that people are concerned about, and we don't really understand why they're happening or how they're made to happen. And I think that if we knew more about what these people discussed, it's either going to tell us two things. One is that actually it's just a talking shop and it doesn't really matter anyway, or it does matter and they are deciding things. Now, if it does matter and they are deciding things, in a democracy we should have the right to know. This certainly supports this idea, doesn't it? Because you use the word collusion between global elites, and it is kind of the only explanation of why we get all of these things that most ordinary people don't want. And you've got idiotic things like the European single currency, which is an ideologically driven thing, which obviously is a political thing. It's not an economic project. So I think, yes, you've got to draw that conclusion that, as I said earlier, they wouldn't meet unless they had something serious to discuss and decide. And it seldom seems to be in the interest of the ordinary person. And in fact, it has been called the kind of shadow world government. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Then nobody else does either. So it's hardly surprising that the most fantastic conspiracy theories get aired, which I don't believe. But there must be a reason why this is all happening. And for example, if you see people like Kenneth Clarke and Peter Mandelson, who are prominent figures from two completely different political parties, Conservative and Labour, meet at these meetings, and then the two of them then pop up in a new organisation, which I think is called British Influence. I can't quite remember the name of it, but it's designed to kind of counter the anti-EU sentiments that are rife at the moment. It's about how great it is for us to be in the EU. Well, it seems a bit suspicious that two people like that, who have opposing political beliefs, supposedly, can be part of the Bilderberg group and then part of a new organisation designed to kind of counter the anti-EU feeling that's rife at the moment. So it does tend to point in a certain direction, doesn't it, the evidence?